Okay, Brett, a girl's name?
Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Were you bugged about it as a child?
That's an excellent question, because I think the only Brett that I recall growing up, that would be, you remember the old match game?
Oh, I vaguely, yeah.
Match game, the game show match. Brett Summers, who was
Yeah.
a regular panelist and was Jack Klugman's ex-wife. That was the only Brett I could think of growing up, and it was, obviously a woman's name too, but I'm sure there must have been professional athletes in the 70s named Brett.
But you didn't know any.
Sounds like maybe there might be a tennis pro or something that might have been named Brett, but I think female as well. Anyway, the long and the
Carson, a bit of an unusual name. You were conceived during the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
I've never actually asked where the origin of that was, but yeah, he would have been on the air.
Yeah. So who was on Johnny that night?
Well, it was 68, so I'm wondering if it was that he was all ranty about the JFK, the conspiracy theory about the New Orleans, Jim Garrison.
Back then, he was on the Tonight Show.
He might have been on the Tonight Show actually in 67. That sounds about right.
Wow.
Carson tore him to shreds, if I recall that.
Is that on the YouTube?
It may be very well on the YouTube, but if you search Jim Garrison Tonight Show or Carson, then yeah, anyway, that might have had something to do with it. Carson conspiracy, C words, connections.
That's bizarre. So your conceptions related to the JFK assassination. That's bizarre.
I would like to think so. I was actually afraid that I had nothing really interesting to talk about, but no, you've kind of pivoted around that that issue.
I always
very
bring
nicely. Your interview skills.
Killing Kennedy always makes people talk. Don't know why. It's just one of those things.
This city holds so many undocumented stories and secrets. It's mind-boggling, David. It really is mind-boggling. And I don't know when everything started becoming not interesting, or if it's just that we get old and we age out of the interest vector, either being able to experience interest or generate it ourselves.
1984. Because that's, I think, when we went completely from film to video in news. That we started in probably 1980, but they totally converted it, and they lost so much of the original news film at CK and converted to terrible videotape without control tracks and all that. I think that was the gap where history stopped.
You may have to back up just for the context of the handful of people coming in totally cold, that both yourself and myself, we worked in broadcast television news.
Not together.
Not together. Strangely enough, we didn't really overlap. I mean, we were in the building at the same time after a certain point, but I think I was still in operations, or had started in operations, when you had graduated onward and upward, and then you were writing Putnam's Prairie Emporium and the VIP lounge of the CK building, with its secret entrances and its cigarette girls, and
that was a good old days.
Old days. Yeah.
But you wrote for Putnam's too, right?
I tried to, but Bruce Edwards, who was the creator, did ask me if I was interested, and we chatted about that. And I honestly, and it was sort of a great preview of my life decades later, where I ran out of ideas, where it was pre-symptomatic at that time of me running out of ideas. I couldn't think of a single damn thing to write for Putnam's. I wrote some little scenes here and there, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me what kind of story I could tell for the the average 10 to 12-year-old Saskatchewan child who had run out of viewing options on television otherwise, and was waiting for something, anything to come along, Circle Square, reruns of Littlest Hobo, anything.
Frightenstein, yeah.
Frightenstein, goes without saying.
And Putnam's, does it exist anywhere? Someone said that the masters were lost, and there's an argument on one of the nostalgic Facebook groups that whether those masters are destroyed or not.
I've heard conflicting things. I'm sure that if we would, we probably would know the right people to ask. I somehow thought that there was talk that they might have been, and then they turned up. I don't know. But if we wanted to make the effort to reach out, I'm sure we probably could to get a definitive answer.
That would take a lot of time, and you'd have to go places and stuff, eh?
Well, the chocolate ain't going to stir itself, I realize.
That's true. So. But Putnam's is rather important, I think. Don't you think, in the history of television? It's what someone said. It's the only TV show that takes longer to watch than it took to write. Yeah, like Gilligan didn't get any money for reruns.
No.
That make you sad?
Did your agent negotiate that deal for you? Your Putnam's deal? Was it an agent? Was it a manager? Was it a?
Well, actually, I was an actor for some reason. Why was I? You were an actor too, weren't you?
I think I was briefly, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how.
Yeah, actor is not just for actors. It's also for writers and broadcasters, and so I mean, you could have very well been an actor member if you were writing. It might have been a prerequisite for all I know.
That's a good question. Yeah, because that was because actor. I loved actor because you could actually be an extra as well. And I made tons of money as extra. I was in the Colin Thatcher movie. Big money.
You were in the Steps of the Ledge. Were you a reporter?
The silent reporter, the crucial silent reporter.
That's right. That's right.
Man on Escalator. You remember that?
I remember. Yes, I do. Man on Escalator.
Yeah. And what were you?
I was a production assistant.
Doing what?
Running around on the whims of every other crew or cast member request, doing undefined stuff.
Yeah. That was kind of fun.
I was hit on by a cast member, an unnamed cast member of the
Connolly Rhodes or the Colin guy.
I can't say. I will say no to that, but yes, that was actually kind of a. I'm trying to find the right adjective to describe it. Anyway, so there were post. You didn't think this is going to get into a salacious gossip?
This is
now,
great. This isn't on your website.
This is not.
Why not?
Well, I think it was whatever the club was in the whatchamacallit, the Regina Inn, and I think there were crew and cast people meeting up for drinks thereafter.
OCC, California Club.
Yeah, that's what it was. And so I had an early call, so I was going to have like a beer and leave, and then said cast member who I'd briefly talked to driving them from the airport to the hotel. That was my only interaction. So for about 10 or 15 minutes. So sort of based on that, and this was several days removed from that, suddenly I find a hand going around my waist and heading south. And I think the phrase was, Brett, I know we haven't really talked very much, but you're one of the nicest people I've met in this business, was the phrase.
Ooh, what a great line.
Yes. If only I ever found the opportunity to use it myself, but I wouldn't, because I wouldn't want to make anybody sort of feel.
But nothing happened in the
end?
How
shall we say? Creeped up. No, I think I rapidly finished my drink and said thank you. That's very nice, and then
You
and then left. But yeah.
Well, the best thing about the ACTRA was you could, aside from the acting, the great money as an extra, they paid you if you had any kind of prop. So they needed all these beige cars in front of the ledge because they wanted to contrast it in front of Colin's bright yellow Corvette. So my mom had this boring K car or something, and I borrowed it from her. And all I did was park it in front of the ledge, and I got something like $600 over the 2 or 3 day shoot. Never told my mom, and I still feel guilty.
That's that's cold. That's cold.
Yeah.
What happened to the money?
Formerly's. Yeah. Yeah. So I should have gave it to her because she didn't have much money for food then. I sort of feel bad about that.
You know what I remember from Formerly's that doesn't exist anymore? Do you remember the old style cigarette vending machines, like the ones with the hand?
Oh, yeah.
I remember clear as a bell. The first thing you walked into Formerly's, you'd see one of those guys there for and you'd with the handles that pull out. And
Yeah.
where do they all go? All the things that are just deemed unnecessary and unneeded. Are they in antique stores? I have not
Yeah.
seen an old cigarette vending machine in an antique store.
That's
Where
true.
do they go?
You know, I was almost killed by a cigarette vending machine. This is a true story. I was helping a friend of mine called Terry Tuna, and back in probably the late 80s, and he was moving stuff. And so we went to the old VAG on Albert Street, and they had one of these cigarette vending machines on the second floor. So we both went up, and he wanted to move it down to his truck. So we're putting down the stairs, and stupidly, I'm at the bottom, and he's a muscular, strong guy. He's at top, and I'm almost dying to hold this thing, and we're clunking it down, and he's losing his grip. So these machines are like 400 or 500 pounds, and all I thought about, I'm going to get mangled to death, and my mom is going to be so pissed because she's so anti-smoking that one of her favorite sons was killed by a cigarette machine. But luckily, Tuna grabbed onto it. But I was seconds away from thinking that something's really bad's going to happen. But that would have made a good story, though.
That was like one of the double-decker cigarette vending machines, not like one of the low boys, right?
Oh no, it was
tall.
It clogged the whole stairwell.
Yeah.
Like why would I do that?
That $600 that you pilfered could have gone towards like paying for your funeral costs, you know.
My mom wouldn't have one. No, she'd probably just pocket the money. Funeral. So we talked about Putnam's. We talked about CK. That was, what does telecine mean?
Are you asking this question to all of your guests or just select ones?
Just everyone.
Telecine. Telecine is the telecine is what is playing when one drifts off to sleep while working behind the master control board.
So what does the word itself mean?
Well, telecine is, if you want to get all technical about it, telecine is a film projector that projects instead of onto a screen, it projects into a cathode ray tube. So it's basically a projector that projects out into television signal.
Okay, what I was getting at is the word itself.
Oh, Jesus, the telecine. Well, it's like a TV. It's like if you had a handsome television and a very beautiful movie projector, and you brought them together to have a wonderful, rapturous moment.
Like the actress during this Colin Thatcher movie.
Exactly.
Oh, you know a lot about TV.
Just things that have David Loblaw attached to them.
Okay.
You're in Twin Peaks too, weren't you? You parlayed your Man on Escalator success into some sort of Lynchian connect.
I just went into commercials at CK. That's all.
That's kind of Lynchian.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the Kozan's furniture commercial. That was talk about money. That was like that was like 8 minutes work, and I got like the same amount. I must have worked for like 3 or 4 weeks at CK. That was the big money back then. Holy crap! Now I think about it.
Why don't you just rename this series instead of blah 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 blah? It should be called Talk About Money. Talk
Yeah.
about money. Right. This is everything comes back to money.
I was looking at your, you have a very impressive resume. I was looking online. You've done a heck of a lot of film and music, and you've done a hell of a lot. Did you know that?
I've pretty much unofficially retired for most of that. So,
Oh, okay. Here's a question. You were the director observer on Terry Gilliam's movie Tideland. You observed him, but you didn't tell him to stop. Why?
Again,
but you had no idea it was going to be that bad?
I like Tideland. I don't think it was his best, but I think it was ambitious. It was perhaps diffuse in its ambition. How does that sound?
Oh, that's nice. Because yeah, I didn't understand any of it. It looked nice. I didn't understand anything whatsoever. Nothing. No 12 Monkeys, that's for sure.
No. Hooked.
Laverne or Shirley?
Squiggy.
Oh, good point. Mother Teresa or Eva Braun? They're not from the 70s. Well, I guess one is.
One has a razor named after her, so I think I'd probably go with Eva.
Yeah.
Was Eva Braun ever actually, was she somehow even just like a sixth cousin to the Braun family, like the German electronics?
Probably. I mean, at the end, there's only like a dozen Germans left, so she must have been whatever. No, she didn't survive whatever happened to her. No, I can't recall. There was something happened there.
I saw the parking lot where she once was.
Really? Or in the bunker?
Yeah, in Berlin. It's in a parking lot above behind an apartment building, and actually it's sort of a half parking lot and half like unkept lawn.
Yeah.
And the only thing that sort of, and I mean, it makes sense, you don't want to commemorate anything like that. So, but they have a tiny little sign, like a sign about as big as a computer screen on a steel rod saying, "Here was the bunker."
Oh.
And then across the street is the Holocaust Memorial in Berlin, which is certainly
bigger?
Well, yeah, very much bigger. Yes, in any one of a number of ways of describing the word bigger. Yes, bigger.
Can you go down into the bunker?
No, it's filled in. It's grass and parking. You could park on top of the bunker if you want. I mean, I'm assuming you would have to be assigned a stall to, in the apartment building. This has suddenly gotten dark. Is this what you wanted for a lightning round?
Oh, that's kind of cool. So you could rent a parking space above Hitler's bunker.
Yeah, very much so.
That's kind of weird. That'd be like before 20. That'd be odd to get that number there, eh? That's his birthday, right? You knew that.
I thought unless you're commemorating something else with that. 420?
Hitler's birthday.
Well, Hitler's birthday, but also that's if you're a cannabis user.
They love Hitler.
They don't love Hitler, David. There's the coincidence of the numbers.
Oh, okay. Oh, those young people.
The young people.
So you're in TV, right? Right. And you always talk about pitching your story, pitching to producers and all that. I always talk about pitching. Yes. Okay, let's do a little role playing here, okay?
You're terrible at wrapping up an interview.
Yeah, I know. This is the last thing. This will be the last. I'm a big time film producer, okay? And you're gonna pitch me something, okay? Ready? You have 30 seconds to pitch me The Beachcombers.
I can't do it.
What's the show about?
It's a hairy guy and his drunk friend on a beach. the drug friend is always falling off of the wharf into the water.
Hmm.
Uh, what did they do with the beachcombers?
What's
I
the
don't even
name
remember.
mean?
Plots.
They
Well,
found logs.
You're people who live off of the shore.
They find logs floating.
Well, it's not. Well, that's only part of it. I mean, there's log drivers, who drive sustenance from the waterways, but on the shore, it's what you find, isn't it? Is what a beachcomber is. That's they salvage. They salvage things that they find. They make driftwood sculptures. They find remotely sort of humanesque looking pieces of driftwood and stick googly eyes on them and sell them at like craft fairs.
And you want this as a TV series?
Only if I can keep the merchandising and the googly eyed driftwood. Yes.
That's so. I always think about these pitch meetings. The best pitch meeting I think ever. Back to Nazis. I can talk about Nazis all day.
Nice pivot. Nice pivot, my friend.
How they pitched Hogan's Heroes 15 years after the end of the Second World War, and they pitched that. Would you have loved to have been in that room?
Well, things were just funnier back then,
There's no 9/11 comedies.
Well,
Hey?
I don't quite know how to address that, but
wouldn't you watch it?
Right. Oh, a 9/11 comedy?
Yeah.
It depends on who's in it.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of sad parts of it, though.
Very much so.
Yeah. Especially for me. I lost 19 of my best friends that day.